Hello everyone and welcome to Slapendipity, Hobos of Happy Slappy Town, episode 82. My name is Devon, but you can call me Gibby, and I'm here with Eric, who you can call Eric. Eric, say hello to the fine people.
Hello to the fine people.
What do you got for us this week?
Okay, so here's the funny thing. You know how we sleep under the bridge next to the river in Happy Slappy Town? As we do.
I do.
Yeah. So, you were, gone doing your errands, doing your daily chores and whatnot, and, I had to do things, and maybe I forgot to lock up, maybe I didn't, and maybe, I'm just saying, maybe some of the journals and notebooks that we keep everything we're ever gonna discuss and have already discussed may have been taken. I don't know. I'm just saying. Taken.
Like by Simi the sea monster? Like it swam up the river?
Whoa. Not by Simi.
By the raccoons?
Cool.
The raccoons that live
not
in the
by the
dumpster?
raccoons. Okay, dance nights have been going well. They only took one page and it was an accident.
Okay, so what do you think happened to him?
It could have been anyone.
Could have been
anything.
Did you do it? Did you do it? Where did you put them? Those were my idea journals. Those are my dream journals. I'm gonna write down the stuff that happens around me, and one day I'm gonna put it into like a book. I'm gonna make one of those autobiographies. What are those called? Memoirs. Memoirs of a hobo. Thoughts, dreams of a hobo. Dreams of the slap man. Now that's not gonna happen. Now no one's gonna be able to read Dreams of a Slap Man.
Maybe it'll just come back on its own sometime.
It's not a lost cat. It's not gonna find its way home. We're not gonna have Homeward Bound.
It could.
For my manuscript.
I'm just saying, instead of focusing on the negatives and who took what and when and where and why and how, we can just, for the first time ever, improv it.
You want to just start everything over from the beginning? Hello, everyone. Welcome to Slapendipity, Hobos Happy Slapping Town, episode 1. You don't know who I am, but my name is Gibby. Is that what we're doing?
Hi, Gibby.
We're transcripting, like on a page. Like, Chapter 1. One day, I was in a bar, and a hag came up to me. Chapter 2. Eric went to Atlanta with Jesus. He ran over a paint bucket. Chapter 3. Single worms in Rome. Like, is that what we're doing here? We're rebooting? Refresh? Rewinding?
No, goodness. You can't just reboot a life, Devon. Okay? Things exist in time in their natural states, and, unless you're, like, a piece of media, that's the only way to be reboot, rebought, resold, restored. Duh.
One time, I was going, like, sledding with my family. Like, it snowed. But we didn't want to go out while it was actively snowing, so we kind of went out, like, later in the day when the snow had ended. So, like, we drove down the street to our elementary school, actually. And there's this big hill. And we had those, like, flying saucer discs that, like, you sled on. We also had, like, we had this cool inflatable tube thing that was also good for sledding. So we were all bundled up in our, like, big coats and boots and hats and scarves, ski masks. And we went there and, like, we got out of the car and, like, we did some sledding. But then the worst part of sledding is you always have to walk all the way back up the hill. And, like, the steeper the hill, the better it is to sled down, but the worse it is to come back up. And it was one of those days where, because the sun had now been out for so long, the snow was kind of slushy. And so I was walking up the hill, and it was slushy, muddy snow. And I was walking, and my foot just comes completely out of my boots, and I take a step with my sock onto the snowy, cold, freezing ground. And it was a terrible situation, but then I rebooted, and it was all good.
Oh.
I rebooted, right. And it was all good.
I see.
I put the boots back on my toesies.
Yes.
And my foot was still cold inside. Foot was still inside, and it was still cold and wet.
But you did reboot.
But I rebooted. It's possible.
But you were cold.
But I was still cold.
I mean, that's a cool story. I don't have good snow stories, really. I have an exciting one, though.
Tell me an exciting story, preferably about boots or water fountains.
So, it was a snowy day, and I was, much younger, a child even, and when you have snow, you gotta shovel the snow out of your yard or your driveway or wherever, so you can have your car go in and out, or even just to make sure you don't slip on it, because if you leave snow and then don't do anything about it at nighttime, the temperature's gonna drop, and then the snow will freeze, and then it'll be extra icy, and it's no good. Not safe. So one time I was shoveling snow, and my neighbors came over, and and we were children, and they were just like, "Ooh, you gotta shovel snow? That's lame." And they were just kind of roughhousing a bit, and it's snow, why not? It's totally safe. And my brother and I were shoveling, and they were roughhousing, and I was like, "Oh, come on, guys, if you help us shovel, then we can play." And they went, "Ah, that's what they said, because they just wanted to roughhouse." And so I don't remember how exactly the if you were to plan it out in a cinematic scene, I don't know how it would go, but my one neighbor was just kind of to the side. I was just standing in the center of the driveway. My brother was shoveling snow slightly ahead of me, and then a different neighbor came up from behind me and pushed me, because he wants to roughhouse. And because my brother is in front of me shoveling snow with a metal shovel, and because I was pushed forward from behind, I fell onto the shovel and onto the corner piece, and it was an inch away from me losing an eye. And I went inside because I knew I was hurt, and I could feel the blood pouring down my cheek. And the neighbors were like, "Oh yeah, you really need to go inside and get that looked at." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." I went inside, and then my parents were like, "What the hell happened?" And I was like, "I got pushed." And covered it up. It wasn't too big or anything. And then wouldn't you know it, my brother comes inside a few minutes later, and he's like, "Wow, Eric, I don't know what you said to your friends, but the driveway's almost done being shoveled now, because they're just really getting to it." And I was like, "I said nothing. They feel bad." And that's how I almost lost an eye. Wow. And I didn't have to buy an eye. Restore. Reboot.
Okay, I got a question about snow shoveling. I'm guessing when you were a kid, your parents are like, go shovel the driveway. Go get a shovel, shovel the driveway. Okay, so I'm thinking about when I was a kid, and it's okay, we have to shovel the driveway. So you get the kids, and you put them in their boots and their pants, and you tuck the pants into the boots, and you give them a coat, and you give them a jacket, and you give them a ski mask, and you give them a hat, and you go outside, and you hand them shovels that are way too big for them, and then you shovel the driveway, and they are helping. But I mean, as an adult, I think I could probably shovel a driveway in 10 to 20 minutes. But as a kid, I just remember it taking an hour. Because if the goal is to get the chore done, an adult could do it in 10 to 20 minutes, and two children would take over an hour. Why would parents bundle up their kids to have them go and shovel the driveway, only to join them themselves and make it take longer? Whatever benefit
Well,
the
it's
kids are
about
doing to the scenario is probably counteracted by the parent having to get them dressed in their snow stuff and then probably wash their snow stuff later. And I wouldn't even say that it's like, oh, you're teaching them to be responsible. You're teaching them how to shovel. You're teaching them how to, like, do this chore. Because they're too small to hold the shovel, one. So, no, you're not teaching them correctly. And two, it's like, you know, if I'm a kid and I have to shovel the whole driveway and it takes me an hour, when I'm like a teenager, if I have to shovel a whole driveway, I'm going to think back to when I was a kid and how long it took. And I'll be like, no, I don't want to do that. But that's wrong, because the reason it took so much longer when you were a kid is because you were small. Like, what a way to turn off people, doing chores and shoveling driveway if you're making them do something that's physically difficult for them because they're so small. Shovels are all the same size, snow is all the same size, but they're tiny now and they'll be big later. I'm just kind of thinking, like, all these different chores I did as a kid, like, we chopped wood. So we have to go and we have to take the wood and we have to put it in a big pile, basically carry wood logs from one side of the yard to the other. And I'm like, I was like 7, and I could maybe carry like 1 or 2 logs at the same time. And my dad could carry like 15. So what was I doing? Why'd he make me do it? Like, what a terrible way to instill labor.
Helping.
What a terrible way to, like, instill the value of work into me, because I'm like, oh, I am small and I have to do difficult thing that would not be difficult if I was bigger. Also, I don't think I ended up, like, objectively helping very much. What a terrible... I would never do that to a child. I'm kind of thinking now back to all the chores I did as a kid. There's... awful decisions.
Well, it's about responsibility. I mean,
hey, go do this thing that you're physically incapable of doing because of your size.
It's not incapable. It's just super challenging. Let me ask you this, though, because maybe this will help determine some things. In any of the chores that you did with your parents, did it ever turn into play?
No.
Okay, so in my family, some of the chores turned into play. Like, oh, we're gonna shovel the driveway and, snowball fight, Or like, we gotta rake the leaves and then you get to jump into them. Or, we gotta, it was a different time back in the day. And I didn't always live in where I live. And it'd be like, okay, time to go burn a bunch of, weeds, leaves, and, whatever, burnables, right? And I remember, like, me and my brother just, like, gathering sticks and, whatever our father assigned us to gather, to burn, being like, oh, we need to get a bunch of, like, stuff to burn so we can help Charmander burn things, and then he's gonna make a coughing because coughing is the smoke, Charmander is the fire.
So
and then you needed a Pidgeot to blow the smoke away.
So
that's what my childhood brain was doing.
While you were, like, discussing that, I was thinking about, like, I was going back to, like, those glorious Saturdays that I had as a kid, right? It's like, it's a day off of school. It's your only day off of school, because Sundays you go to church, and that's basically school. So it's your only day off. And I'm like, what do I want to do? I'm like watching Digimon and coloring in a coloring book. It's a nice fall day. It smells nice. It's not too hot, not too cold. You're just on the rug in the living room. Maybe there's a fire. And your dad's like, oh, we have to go outside and do chores. And then the chore is intense physical labor that you're too small to do. And also you're getting in the way. Like I'm thinking back, like, okay, I have to, like, weed the garden. Which entailed every 3 seconds going, hey, is this a weed or a plant? Is this a weed or a plant? Is this a weed and a plant? And then, like, tugging it, but you don't actually get it by the roots because you're small, so you just kind of break the stem. And then your dad yelling at you and being like, you gotta get the roots, otherwise it's just gonna grow back. And I'm like, well, I don't have the roots. Like, I'm physically not strong enough to do that. And then you get in trouble for not helping, even though you're physically too small to helping. And you're like, but I just want to be inside and watch Digimon. And, like, why can't I just do that while my dad's out here weeding? And then when the weeding is finally done, and you go inside to watch Digimon, your dad's like, well, I work hard every week, so I'm going to use the one TV in this household to, like, watch football or something. And I'm like, but you know what would have been perfect is if I'd been watching Digimon while you were weeding, and then when you're done weeding, you come in to watch football, and I can go play outside. But instead, now I have nothing.
What age were you for some of this stuff, roughly?
I'd say this probably lasted like 4 to 11.
Okay. Because I think a 10-year-old is like, hey, go weed for me. and here's how to do it. I think a 10-year-old's capable of that.
No,
But if you're 4,
like 4 to 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's it is kind of like, is that too much? I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just parents, and I mean, to an extent, it always comes down to your parents, right? But like, I remember Saturday mornings, I would get to watch TV until like 11 or noon, and on a Saturday, and regardless of like what was up, whether if there were plans or not, it'd be like, okay, time, like, go do something else. I'd be like, okay. So from like, 9 to 12, I could be like, oh boy, I'm watching Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, and then, 12 o'clock comes around, I have to do the chores, or I have to just go outside, or whatever. Or do homework, because,
I think kids need time to themselves where they are in charge of what they're doing. And school is not that, and homework is not that. And so I think that sort of the mistake here is that parents don't see their kids when they're at school, and parents don't see their kids when they're at work or when the kid's sleeping or whatever. So let's say a parent only gets like a couple hours a week to be with their child. They're like, I need to do the parental thing and like teach them good work ethics and manners and stuff like that. I need to work on my kid. Well, the kid sees that they only have a couple hours to do things outside the supervision of parents. And so when their parent comes in and says, I'm now going to be like hard and difficult on you to give you good character, the kid's like, well, now I have nowhere to exercise the things that you and my teachers are attempting to teach me because I have no time on my own to actually do these things. I'm going from teacher to parent with no responsibility, no individuality, no, independence at all. And I think teachers sort of often will see themselves as like babysitters. The teachers will be like, well, I don't know what kind of home lives these kids have, so I need to be the one to like instill values in them. And then the parents will be like, well, the teacher's just teaching them 1 + 2 = 4, so 3. Oh my God, 1 + 2 = 3. So I need to like teach them all this stuff. And the kid's just like, I want to color in my coloring book.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Sunday was also, I also went to church until a certain, like, teenage years, I stopped going. But I don't know, man. I think I had a pretty decent amount of free time as a child to be like, okay, what do you want to do? And my parents were very generous and supportive of like, hey, I think I want to like learn how to play the drums, and then trying that out, and then like, oh, I'm just gonna do play some video games for a few hours, and they'd be like, heck yeah, man, do you. And or like it's family game night. I mean, we didn't call it that, there was no like set time or anything, but I do think there is a difference between like how you approach a child as a parent and like what is the child taking away from these things. Because even if it was like, oh, you're gonna help shovel the snow, and it's like, oh, I don't want to, it's hard and blah blah blah, like all the things you said. But at the end of it, I knew I would get like a hot chocolate or like a grilled cheese. Like I would get something hot and warm, and that would feel nice afterwards. Shrug. Oh, but what about this though? Like, you go over to a friend's house. You're not supervised by an adult there. Presumably.
Or
I mean, in the
parents.
sense that, well, but were you, so usually whenever I went over to a friend's house to play, like, there was an adult in the building, but if we were like, oh, we're gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh! In the kitchen, or Legos in his room, or whatever, like, the adult was like watching TV or like doing, whatever. Like they weren't constantly in the same room, like just eyeing us the entire time.
Yeah, but if you're at a friend's house, I think that still isn't the same as like time alone or time to be independent. There's sort of different social rules when you're with other people that you need to follow. Like, oh, I need to be polite to my friend. I need to, not break their house. I need to blah, blah, blah. Like my pushing boundaries, I think, is important. And pushing boundaries at my own house is almost like a safer environment, but I would never push boundaries at a friend's house. That would be like crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Or, I mean, this is one of the things I wonder, because I grew up with siblings. I think most of the people we know grew up with siblings. Yep. I'm so curious what it is like to be an only child, because you just don't have a playmate. And even if you, like, hate each other, right, as siblings, and you're like, meh, like, that's still a relationship. And that's, like, something to bounce off of, as opposed to just 2 40-year-old parents and a 10-year-old being like, so we're gonna go birthing. So tell me how so if you have a child.
Yep.
This 10 years from now, you're married, have a kid, and you're like, okay, little Timmy, you're only 4 years old, so you're gonna have a coloring book and do what you want, but the second you hit 10, it's shovel time.
No. I'm definitely never gonna do? I'm definitely never gonna be like, okay, Timmy, hold the flashlight while I fix this car engine, and if your arm gets tired, I'm gonna yell at you.
Oh. Well. Yeah. I think this is just kind of revealing a little bit. I don't know how much you want to get into it.
That's kind of a universal being a kid thing. Your dad's like, hold the light in the car engine. And you're like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, too bad. And then you do it wrong, and then they yell at you, and you're like, well, I don't want to be doing it in the first place.
I don't think, in a situation like that, I don't think either of my parents have yelled at myself or my brother. Like, because, like, oh, my arm's tired, I can't carry it anymore. They would, like, just take the flashlight themselves, or, like, call in the other parent to help. Or the other sibling. And just be like, okay, you need a break. You go get water, take a minute, come back, and then keep holding the light. I would get yelled at for dumb things, though. Like, oh, we're outside and it's snowing, and I'm not zipping up my jacket because, quote, I am not cold. And my parents just being like, Eric, just zip up your jacket. And it's like, I'm not cold. It's just like, zip up your jacket. Until they do it for you, and then they catch your skin, and you're like, ah.
Yeah. I don't know why. My parents were never capable of clipping my fingernails properly. I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like, they clipped them too far. I'm like, what are you doing?
What is too far? Like,
so it hurts.
Pink?
Yes.
Yeah. Wild. I don't even... Yeah. I don't remember anything like that.
Yeah, I'm just sort of...
I guess my parents did a good job.
I'm just going over, like, things that were traumatic or upsetting to me as a child that I would not do. And getting fingernail length right, I think, is important. I was actually talking... I met with my aunt and some of my cousins yesterday, and we were talking, and one of them brought up how, like, loud my grandfather can be at, like, like sports games, and it unlocked this like traumatic memory of like playing little league baseball, and like you can hear people in the stands, and the only person I could hear is my grandfather yelling, and I'm like, no, I didn't want to remember that.
Balls.
Parents, if you're at your kid's sports game, just be normal, please. They're like
No.
7.
We're gonna go all out all of the time. Yeah, what I remember one time, I have no idea the greater context. I never asked, and I don't need to. But there was a family event, so we were at my grandfather's, and he was talking about like just kind of I guess to uncles or whoever, like, oh, I have these boxing tickets, and like I need to. I don't know the greater context. Something about he had like an extra ticket and he didn't know what to do with it because of the people he was gonna go with and blah blah blah. And I remember being like, I was at that age where I like money kind of clicked for me, and I was just like in that money phase of like you can make money and you can buy things you want with it. So I remember going up to him and being like, I know you can sell the extra ticket and then you can have money. And he was just like, shut up, Eric. I just walked away and went on the stairs. And my grandmother was like, what are you doing? You don't gotta yell at him. And he was like, he shouldn't have been involved. Very hilarious. Very. And then my brother laughed at me because our grandfather yelled at me.
Har, har, har.
That's what siblings are for. Kick you while you're down.
Yes. There's been a much more of a snow-themed episode than I had intended it to be. Much more of a chores-themed episode.
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting, like you opened the episode informing us that our manuscript pages had been stolen by some dirty, filthy possums or whatever.
A vague, indescribable force. Go on.
A vague, indescribable force. Okay. I've been. I wrote a book, and I'm currently in the process of trying to find representation to get it published. But every time I do this, every time I get to this stage with the book, it's always annoying, because in order to sell a book, what you basically have to do is give like a 1 to 2 sentence or a paragraph description of it to the agent and why it's enticing. And then you send them the first chapter. And I was always like, well, what's enticing about my story can't be summed up in 1 to 2 sentences, and also the first chapter is like kind of boring because it's not like the meat of the story yet. And so I'd always get frustrated where I'm like, why can't they just like understand my genius and brilliance? The reason they do that is because the 1 to 2 sentence or paragraph description of the book is supposed to be what's like on the back cover to help sell it.
Right.
And then the first chapter is supposed to be as exciting as possible so that people pick it up, read the first chapter, and then continue it. And I'm like, well, I don't care about like sales. I care that it's good. Mm-hmm. But obviously they care about sales. So my sort of, I would keep going back and rewriting it to be like, okay, how can the first chapter be as enticing as possible? And I think I've hit the point where it's now like the most enticing it's ever been in all of my edits. And that's cool. But I got to the point where I'm like, okay, now I need to summarize it in a paragraph, but like I can't, like I don't even know what to say, like what, blah, 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 blah. So while I'm sort of waiting for people to respond on that, and it's called the querying phase, you're querying agents. So I'm in the querying phase, I don't really want to like do any more rewrites. So I'm like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start writing another book. And so I designed this book just from I started with a 1-paragraph premise. I started with what's the most interesting single paragraph I could write in one of these text boxes to send to an agent? And what's the most interesting first chapter you could possibly write? So I wrote the paragraph summary and I wrote the first chapter before deciding what the book was even going to be. I'm like, I'll just figure it out as I go. This will give me the best chance to get it sold and published, even if it ends up being garbage. And the more I work on the project, the more I'm like, this is garbage, but people are going to love it. The other one is my baby and my masterpiece, and no one will understand it, but this one's going to, like, people are really going to like this story, and I just think it's so dull and stupid, and I'm not saying anything, but people are going to love it. And I'm kind of jaded. I'm kind of jaded on the process.
I mean, yeah, that happens. one of the common pieces of advice I have heard is like, regardless of what creative project you're working on, be it a book, a podcast, a movie, whatever, never have the first project be your baby.
Yeah.
Because it's just too... You care too much about it. You're going to get in your own way. There's a lot of feelings going on because it's your baby project. So you should start with something you care less about.
Yeah, well, like, typically people who do artistic things, right, like, they tell stories that are important to them, and so the first project they start is something that's very important, because if it wasn't important, they wouldn't have continued it, and thus they wouldn't have gotten interested into the arts in general. But yeah, if my baby fails another couple rounds of querying, I might just shelve it and try to make things that are more popular, like make a name for myself with this stupid other book I'm making, and then go to publish the one that I actually want to. Which means I need to stop and I need to just like finish that other book, because it can be garbage and I won't mind sending it out if it's garbage, but I can't because I have so many stupid YouTube videos to make. But I'm making YouTube videos because I'm trying to make money, and then I don't have time for writing, and I'm very frustrated because I'm like, I have so many things I want to do and I do enjoy my job, but I'm just not making enough to make it like viable for me to continue. Or I would say I'm not making enough, or it's taking too long, one or the other. And if I could find an editor for my YouTube videos, 99% of my problems would go away, but I just can't find someone.
Dang, man. You should, maybe look on social medias.
It doesn't really work that way. I had one friend who tried to get an editor, and if they don't understand Five Nights at Freddy's, it's just literally impossible for them to edit, because you have to be like, okay, so in the Nurse Dolly room, right after she finishes talking about recycling and she breaks in the door for the first time and you see the plus and minus symbols on her hand, if you go down the hallway and you find the cube of trash, it's actually very likely that the cube of trash is representative of the Fall Fest fire, which is how the agony gets into the system, which allows for F10 to be actually possessed by Fiona Murray. And if someone doesn't know what all those words mean, then they can't edit the video for you. And if you have to stop and explain what all those words mean and what should be on screen when they're editing, you're basically doing all the groundwork yourself anyway, and you're not saving any time. So you need to find someone who understands FNAF to edit. But then if they do that, then they're typically already other YouTubers. Like, people who know how to edit videos and love FNAF are already making their own videos, and so they're not just going to be your editor.
Why is agony capitalized?
Agony is a force of it's like ghostness. Like, if you can think of like a ghost story where it's like, oh,
it's the ectoplasm.
Yes, this knife killed 3 people, and now that I'm holding it, I have the urge to stab my math teacher. It's because the knife has agony in it. And so agony it's kind of like this ineffable force that kind of creates a field of evil. But if that field of evil has influence over something, like, say, an artificial intelligence, like, say, a robot, then it influences the robot to do evil. So murder, if you murder a child in front of a robot, and then you stuff the child into the robot, then the agony of that evil action brings the robot sort of to life to make it do evil. And so when it sees people, it might try to kill them. Within the bounds of its programming, right? If the robot is programmed to put endoskeletons into suits, because that's part of what its job is, it sees a human and goes, that looks kind of like an endoskeleton, let me violently smash it into a suit and kill it. And that's the plot of Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh. Okay. That's crazy. I didn't realize how supernatural FNAF is.
Totally supernatural.
I mean, I guess that's what you get when you have, like, 12 games or whatever. You can just expand on the lore indefinitely.
Yeah, I mean, all that was present in the first game, but yeah, it's always been a ghost story.
Yeah.
Do you have any ghost stories? I'm sure we've talked about this, but I don't remember.
No, I have very uneventfully not had any dealings or encounters with anything supernatural, even remotely. I am so boring in this regard. I didn't
No aliens?
have any
Conspiracy theorists?
no aliens, no ghosts, no conspiracy theories. I've done a bit of research into some cryptids, but like I have not had any personal encounters where like, ooh, when I was a baby, I had a conversation with a deceased relative, or one late night I was in the woods and I saw a mysterious glowing light. Turns out those are just drones, but no, yeah, I'm
never seen anything unexplainable.
seen anything unexplainable.
With the exception of Hey Cervantes, which you didn't even
With
get.
the exception
you know
of
what?
Hey Cervantes.
That's so weird because we've told the story before, did we? No, I think
Yes.
I think I directed people to watch
did.
my video. I don't remember. Anyway,
Okay.
a ghost entered into a group chat with me, Eric, and my brother, and started talking to us. But Eric couldn't see it.
I'm telling you.
You're the only one who couldn't see it. Me and my brother both could see it.
Yes. If agony or ectoplasm is real, I have like an antimatter field of that stuff.
That's so weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Have you ever used a Ouija board?
No.
Would you ever use a Ouija board? Because you don't believe in that kind of stuff, do you?
I don't know. I believe in it when I'm scared.
The correct answer. But would you ever go to like a haunted place and use a Ouija board?
Oh, okay. Would I use a Ouija board in a normal home with my friends and stuff? Yeah, maybe. Would I go somewhere haunted and use one? I don't know.
And I don't mean a graveyard. I mean somewhere haunted.
Yeah, a haunted house, abandoned building.
No, okay, so you know how one of the auditoriums in the movie theater we used to work at is haunted?
Oh, yes, sure.
Would you go in that auditorium and use the Ouija board to try to contact Johnny the Ghost?
I would most likely not participate in anything scary like that if I was alone. If I was with other people, maybe, or maybe I'd be in the room, but I wouldn't participate.
Really? That's so interesting.
I don't know. I gotta be a little stitious, I'm not superstitious, but
just a little stitious.
I gotta keep my danger senses sharp.
But do you?
And then
do you think?
Yes.
Do you think that? Like, some people are like anti Ouija board because they're like, it's inviting demons into your world, and like you'll be cursed if you do it. Is that what you're believing?
I don't know if I believe that. I have heard that as well. I think part of it is just kind of the mental, like, even if I don't believe in it until I'm scared, if I then do this thing and then 2 hours later I see some weird event, I'm gonna be like, oh, well, it's because of the Ouija board, instead of like looking at it and being like, oh, it's because, whatever. I will be primed to not fully interpret it, possibly correctly. Like when we watched horror movies last year, we would watch all these slasher movies and stuff. I would get into my car and check all the seats, like the passenger seat, back seat, trunk, to be like, okay, great, no one else is in here, of just waiting to stab me. Scary things put me on edge. So,
There was one time when we were leaving, so we used to do midnight screenings at the theater, so we'd see the movies the day before they came out, and we saw a horror movie, so we're leaving the theater at 2 a.m., and I get in my car, and I close the door, and I hear a voice, a female voice that echoes throughout my car, that goes, "Can you open the door and let me in?" loud, clear as anything, clear as day, extremely loud, inside my car.
Nah.
Can you open the door and let me inside? And I'm like, what? Like, I froze. It was like literally like instant, tingles down my spine, instant goosebumps, like freeze in place. Fight, flight, freeze, whatever. I froze. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? Oh my God. And then I kind of realized what happened. So my phone has a feature where if you get a text message while you're driving, the car reads it out to you in like a text-to-speech voice.
Mm-hmm.
So once my brain came back, I'm like, oh, that was a text-to-speech voice telling me that someone had texted me saying, can you open the door and let me in? Someone had texted me 2 hours ago at midnight when the screening was beginning, because we always lock the doors when we close, so then we have to manually let people in to come in the screening. So someone had texted me, can you open the doors and let me in? It didn't go through to my phone, I'm guessing because of a dead zone. So it wasn't until I walked into the parking lot and got in my car that the text came through. And so my car said, can you open the door and let me in? Right after we got out of the Ghost movie, and I closed my car and I was alone in the dark parking lot. Absolutely terrifying.
Wacky.
Completely explainable. Wacky completely, even.
And that's the thing, right? Completely explainable, but you saw this movie at 2 a.m. and it's dark, and then you're alone and you hear that and you're just like, what the fuck? What happened? Did you... Okay, sometimes I would visit family and they would have those old dolls,
Hate them.
Like the... Hate. I have never... And, okay, you know what? I am stitious. I won't even say a little, because I do not mess with those dolls in any capacity. And I would sleep in a room where those dolls existed, and it would take me so long to fall asleep. And I couldn't do anything about it because A, they were a family member's possessions, and then B, well, I can't throw it. I can't put it in the trash. It'll get mad. Chucky is one of the most terrifying things. I have never watched it. I must have at some point as a child because I am scared of it. But like a tiny thing with killer intent that is hidden in plain sight and just wants you to terrify. And you can't, and it's an object. Maybe, you throw it in the trash, and then for some reason the bag didn't get it thrown into the truck, and the trash people didn't notice that something fell out, and now this doll is on the ground after you threw it in the trash, and it's just looking at you as you're going outside to leave for work or whatever, and you're just like, oh no. It's gonna go in my house somehow. I can't leave it on the lawn. And if I leave it on the lawn, it'll get mad and go into the house anyway. Or a neighbor sees it and is like, oh yeah, I put it on your front steps or your porch or whatever. And no, it's never ending. No one send any dolls to the bridge.
No, and I don't think I talked about this on the show, but I told you about this creepy-looking haunted doll thing that we found, and then sold on eBay. It was this weird, creepy-looking wooden doll. Maybe you can put it in the show, so it's like in the background. If someone's watching this on YouTube, they'll be able to see a picture of the doll.
Hey, if I'm freaked out about it, I'm not going to put it up.
3 bad. And so I sold it. We couldn't really find info on what it was. Thankfully, Google Lens showed us some other pictures of the similar looking dolls. So we're like, it's a hand-carved wooden doll. We think from this country. We think it's a monk. The top of its head is black, so it's kind of like a monk haircut. And then in the item description, I'm just like, I don't know what this is, comma, possibly haunted, comma, get this out of my house. And we listed a bunch of just random tchotchkes that we had, and that was one of them. And it's like the only one that's sold. Someone just really wanted this possibly haunted wooden doll. I was like, hey, if it doesn't sell, maybe I'll put it on my set somewhere. It'll be like a little mascot.
Insane.
Someone wanted it.
Insane.
People really wanted it.
My father is really into nutcrackers. And as a child, did not like nutcrackers. But I could not escape them, so I have learned to deal with them. And they're fine now, I guess, but I got my eye on them.
Big
Big I think in part it's just human looking objects that just like, oh, a nutcracker, a doll, that they're humans. It may, scared brain logic is like, well, they're humans, so they can do anything a human can do. Mm-hmm. They just need the agony or ectoplasm or whatever. And then it's just weird because you're just like, I don't know, man. Humans weren't meant to have objects of humans.
I mean, some of the earliest things that like we found from ancient humans were like dolls and little like statues of like people, like goddess statues or whatever, carvings of people. We've always created people,
and we were wrong to do that. Okay. We shouldn't have portraits. We shouldn't have human dolls. Everything. We should just rely on our memory. Maybe drawings. Maybe photographs. Maybe. And everything else you just gotta remember. And if you forget, that's where the photos and drawings can come in. I don't want to mess with imagine going to bed and there's just an unblinking little human doll thing staring at you as you're sleeping. That lizard brain kicks into fight or flight and goes, "Why are you staring at me?"
Mm-hmm. We are doing, in the month of October, we're going to be doing our horror movie marathons again. We could obviously
be really careful.
We can start earlier than October. We can start in September. Careful about what?
I just keep talking.
Okay, so me and you are going to be watching a lot of horror movies. Starting soon, hopefully. Yes. I think one of the ones that we want to watch, I want to watch like all the Conjuring movies, which include like The Nun and Annabelle. And
fuck, no,
Annabelle is
no.
Annabelle is a creepy doll. Have you seen like a picture of Annabelle? Like, you know what it looks like?
I have a mental image right now, and I have to look behind the bed.
Do you think Annabelle's creepy looking?
Yes! Stop saying it!
So I don't. I think that it's kind of too scary to be actually creepy. So in the true story of like the real Annabelle doll that was possessed by a demon and haunted and totally killed some people, it was a Raggedy Ann doll. But in the movies, because that's copyrighted, they couldn't do it. Yeah, they couldn't get licensing, so they just made a really creepy-looking doll. And I think the story is significantly scarier knowing that it's a Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah, it's a common... Every little girl had this doll.
I had them in my house. My grandmother's Raggedy Ann doll sat on a little rocking chair, just perfectly doll-sized in the corner of a room in a cabin.
Why do grandparents want to freak out children?
You were in the room when the doll was there on her little rocking chair. Like, you may not have consciously noticed
it. I must
have
blocked it out.
Yeah.
I do not want this memory. I do not want... Devin, you gotta put that away when I come over. I don't wanna...
Oh, it's also listed on my eBay. We're also trying to sell the Raggedy Ann.
Insane. No. Dolls are creepy. Any version, any capacity. Just no. You know what's fine? Beanie Babies. Furbies. Furbies are their own nightmare fuel because of their own Furby logic. But, like... Animals, monsters, hey, those are cool and those are fake. Dogs, fake. Humans, not fake.
Dogs, fake. Eric 2025.
I've never felt more insane on this show than this episode. Is this what it feels like to be you?
To be me going
like,
insane?
Oh, I know I'm spouting nonsense.
Oh, yes.
But I just can't. Obviously, dogs aren't fake, but like...
Dogs are fake.
I
think it's
this
funny.
Is why... Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, we have so few viewers that, like, the sort of feedback and reaction we get to the episodes is so minute. And I always think, like, if these videos got, like, 10K views, like they do on my main channel, I always think to myself, I'm like... I wonder what people's responses to the absolute nonsense that I say would be. Because when I'm talking, I'm like, what's just the most out-of-pocket thing I could say right now? Or what's something that I just overtly don't believe that I will insist I do just because that's what's going on in the conversation right now? And I don't...
Yeah.
Because we don't have the audience sort of interaction, I'm like, I have no idea what people are thinking when I say these things. When I just, like, assert with absolute certainty something that makes absolutely no sense. I would love to hear from people.
Hey man, if they aren't saying what the heck, I don't get this, they must agree.
Well, maybe.
They're just like, oh yeah, I guess Gibby is right about being a worm from Rome, actually. Huh. You know, you want to hear another fear? Please, people on the internet, don't use these against me. I think I may have talked about this already.
Yeah, I do have a phobia, and I've explicitly never talked about it on the internet because, duh.
Yeah.
So be careful.
So mine would be a lot harder to exploit. And
okay.
I've been getting over it as time progresses. But like, oh, are you at a pool party and you do a cannonball and you go to the bottom of the pool and now you must swim up as fast as possible because you can't say for certain Jaws isn't below you right now trying to eat you, or Godzilla.
Jaws specifically?
Jaws and or Godzilla specifically. Just like a sea monster is potentially below you and you cannot say it's not the case because you can only touch water, you can't smell or taste anything, you can't see anything, at least from a cannonball because your eyes are closed, and you can't hear anything, more or less. Mm-hmm. And so it's like you it's as close to realistically being sensory deprivated as, a common person can get. And you just don't know if Godzilla is below you. Now, admittedly, those fears are most apparent after watching scary water monster movies, such as Godzilla and Jaws. And this is why I freaked out so much on the Jaws ride in Japan. And I was right. It came out of nowhere every time.
I'm going to scare you.
Oh, please. Please be so careful.
So, there's lots of things that we can't, that's literally impossible to map out, including, like, underwater caverns and cave systems. It's very likely that there are enormous underground caverns, that the only entrance to them are very small tunnels, where it's pitch black, and so things like water and very small animals and insects can get into them, but probably can never get back out, and also none of our machinery or any sort of bigger animal would ever be able to get in. So what I'm saying is, it's very possible, in fact likely, that if you were to, on a y-axis, dig directly down from exactly where you're standing right now, there would be an ineffably large underground pitch-black cavern full of water that could have absolutely anything in it, including giant animals that humans have never laid eyes on.
Yeah, that's fine.
You're cool with there being a giant, underneath you, a gaping, enormous underwater cavern that might have a sea monster in it below your feet right this second?
He's not bothering me. And he hasn't been
but
for
Jaws did?
Decades. Yeah. Listen, if I'm... The land, that's mine, okay? I can handle the land. The ocean, that's the ocean creature's place. Okay? We have our homes, and even just by getting into a pool, I'm a visiting guest, alright? And I acknowledge the risk I take. But, I'm on land, I'm on my home turf, and they respect that as I respect being a guest in theirs. Also, like, I guess that's maybe a thing, but, like, it would have to dig through, like, so much land to get to me. Like, if it wanted to bite and eat me right now, it would have to tunnel through so much earth. And then I would feel the tremors of it digging and I could escape. But I bet you a creature that big can't expend a lot of energy and is just kind of waiting for more water and small fish and plankton and stuff to, like a whale, right? Like they can't move very fast or in big ways because they're so big they have to conserve energy, so they just eat a bunch of little guys at the bottom and they just kind of passively eat. So if something like that does exist, it's probably more like a whale than anything else, and it's just like, I'm gonna chill here on the ocean floor and eat my krill and plankton, and that's that. I have no problem. Listen, one of my favorite cryptids is Nessie, and in practice, that would terrify me. If I actually saw a giant lake sea monster.
Have you ever, have you ever played a video game in which this phobia, that triggered this phobia, like Mario 64?
I have not played Mario 64.
Boo! Boo him! Boo!
Have I ever played... I can't recall specifically, but I'm sure there have been chase sequences where you're like underwater and you gotta get away. I would not enjoy those sections, but I would probably beat it.
Interesting.
Yeah, no. You gotta get to the next level. Doesn't matter if you're scared. You still gotta do it.
What a great moral to end off this episode. It doesn't matter if you're scared, you just gotta do it. Unless it is shoveling the driveway when you're 7, in which case you should refuse to do it because it's unfair. The end.
Work up for children's labor rights.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.